Hi, artist. As you enter class today, get out your sketchbook, and for Art Start, you will list at least 10 things about yourself. You can use the thought bubble below to guide your thinking. All right, thank you, artists, for taking time to brainstorm your ideas. Today, we're going to focus on the question, who are you? In this unit, seventh grade artists will express your identity by including 5 or more visual symbols. And you will develop your craft through creating an interesting drawing composition. We are actually all going to make art that is in the same shape as our arms and our hands, but it will all look very different because the visual symbols will symbolize who you are and express your own identity. So let's first start by talking about what are visual symbols. Do you recognize these symbols? Do I need to tell you what they are? No, I know. I think most of you can recognize these. When I see the Bronco, I know immediately that's expressing that someone is a fan of the Broncos team. When I see these math symbols down here, I know that means it's time for math. You're going to use visual symbols to express an idea. You're going to use the visual symbols to express who you are, your identity. So let's look at this exemplar artwork. When we look at the visual symbols, we start to get clues about who this artist is. So when I see the paintbrush, I know that this means I am an artist. When I see the mountains over here, that tells me that this artist enjoys exploring the mountains. This drawing of herself shows me that she's female. She included these windmills and blue skies because she hoped to become an aerodynamic engineer who gets to construct the different types of wind energy. And then down here, big part is that she feels passionate about earth science. So this artist used very little words. The only word included is her name. And you will do the same. You will use only visual symbols to communicate your identity. So before we move in to actually drawing our visual symbols, we're going to take a couple of minutes and do an activity to make sure that you have an interesting composition. Just like a musician composes music and creates a musical composition by arranging sounds in different ways, you're going to arrange your visual symbols on your paper in an interesting way by using these tips. So on your table, you will find that there's a worksheet with 5 different tips for creating an interesting composition. At your table, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Your table is going to find your table number. So table 1, we'll do the first one. Table 2, we'll do the second one, and so on. And I want you to discuss what that tip means. And then in a moment, you're going to come up and you're going to have 1 minute to explain it to the class and also identify where the exemplar artist used that tip. Okay, artists, so you have 1 minute to come up, and I'd like you to point out where you see that tip used and also explain to the class what it means. Wonderful job. So as you can see, the artist used these tips in her artwork. She also used some of them multiple times, but these were the ones that stood out to you guys the most. So to give you an overview of this project, you're going to express your identity, and I'm going to require that you include 5 or more visual symbols. You'll develop your craft by creating an interesting drawing composition. You'll use those 5 tips, and I'll also be coming around to support you. For the next class or two, we should all be focused on pencil drawings. Then we're going to add in color, and I'll do some demonstrations on different drawing materials and techniques with color. Then you will cut out your drawing, and then for our final step to make a display ready, we're actually each going to write an I am poem, and we're going to incorporate that text into our design. So this project will take us about 8 classes. So today, your focus is to express your identity by including 5 or more visual symbols in your pencil drawing. You should go back to the different identity characteristics that you brainstormed in your sketchbook. I'm happy to help you with that. I'll be coming around to ask you different questions. If you have 10 or more and you know which ones you want to use, you can start brainstorming your visual symbols, doing some research, and you can actually start drawing them in your pencil drawing. As you draw them, you should really be focusing on developing your craft of drawing by creating an interesting composition using the 5 tips. All right, class, for our end of class reflection, you are going to share a visual symbol with a classmate without sharing your identity characteristic. So only the symbol. You're going to ask them to guess what your visual symbol expresses. If they can guess it, that means that your visual symbol is clearly expressing that part of your identity. If they're having a hard time guessing it, it means that you might need to add a little more detail. That's something I can help you with, or you can ask them for feedback on what would help them to better understand. I can't wait to continue on this project with you.